What is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my 5th overall pick draft strategy in 12-team leagues. Inside of today's video, we'll begin by discussing the early round ADPs from Yahoo Fantrax, FFC, Sleeper, all averaged together, and we will talk about how I feel like I want to approach a draft from the 5th overall spot. And then about halfway into the video, we're going to be pivoting into an actual 12-team half PPR mock draft from the 5th overall spot, so you guys can see what I would want to be doing if this was an actual fantasy football draft. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my 5th overall pick draft strategy in a 12-team league. So right now, based upon the ADPs across a couple of websites, Yahoo, Fantrax, FFC, and Sleeper, all averaged together, the first 4 picks of a draft should go as follows. Now, obviously, when you get into a real draft, shit could change, right? Crazy things could happen. Someone could take Josh Allen as the first overall pick. But according to the ADPs across those sites averaged together, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry should be off the board. Now, I think most people, once they get to that 4th overall pick, are not looking for Derrick Henry. They're not looking for Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, these running backs. They are looking to secure one of those top-end wide receivers, whether that is Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson, or even Ja'Marr Chase for some fantasy football players. So in my opinion, at the 5th overall spot, if Cooper Kupp was available, like he could be in this simulation based upon the ADPs that we're looking at, to me, that is a no-brainer selection. Cooper Kupp is a very safe pick, but he also has the upside to do what he did last year and be the #1 wide receiver in fantasy football. Now, on some websites like Underdog Fantasy, the sponsor of today's video, we have actually seen Justin Jefferson rise ahead of Cooper Kupp in ADP. Do I think that that is absolutely crazy? No. Am I still going to be taking Cooper Kupp over Justin Jefferson? Yes, but I think Cooper Kupp is in an excellent position to succeed this year. There was some worries about Matthew Stafford having quote-unquote tendonitis, but Sean McVay confirmed that that was not the case. So at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford should be perfectly fine, and he will be able to elevate Cooper Kupp to potentially finish back-to-back years, Michael Jordan 96-97, as the #1 wide receiver in fantasy football. Now we'll move to our 2nd round draft selection at pick number 20. So after we go Kupp, according to ADP, we would see Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris, Ja'Marr Chase, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Alvin Kamara, and Deebo Samuel come off the board. So at pick 20, based upon the ADP aggregate, our pick would be Aaron Jones. Players also available would be Tyreek Hill, Mark Andrews, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, A.J. Brown. If I'm being honest with you, if you took Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Mark Andrews, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, or Mike Evans at that pick, I don't think you did anything wrong. If you take Josh Allen in the 2nd round, I think that is very stupid to do, because every single year, the #1 quarterback typically doesn't repeat as the #1 quarterback. Now, could Josh Allen break that mold and absolutely torch fantasy football and finish as the quarterback #1 yet again and be amazing just like he was last year? 100%. But in my opinion, in the 2nd round, I am just not willing to take a quarterback. So I am going to be going either running back or wide receiver at this pick. We already secured who I believe will be the #1 wide receiver in fantasy football this season. So I want to go ahead and hop on the running back train, because I personally believe that around the 3rd round is when the running backs really fall off an edge and things start to get really risky. So my general approach to a draft is to get at least one running back in the first 3 rounds before I believe things are going to fall off. Now, could that draft strategy change if all the running backs are coming off the board and you're getting amazing value at wide receiver early on? 100%. So I want you guys to make sure that you enter the draft. I talk about this in every single draft video, so I might sound like a broken record if you've watched all of these draft strategy videos. But make sure you don't go into the draft thinking you need to do certain things, because then you're going to trap yourself in a metaphorical box, and then you're going to end up reaching on players that you shouldn't have reached for. So at pick number 20, my pick is either Saquon Barkley or Aaron Jones. You can go with either of them. For the sake of the video, we're going to go with Aaron Jones. I think he's going to be in a great position to succeed in Green Bay this year. I think without Davante Adams, we're going to see Aaron Jones get a lot more receptions, and that was the case when Davante Adams has been banged up over the last couple of years. Aaron Jones really stepped up big time in terms of getting more targets per game. Next, we move up to pick number 29. We have T. Higgins on the board, David Montgomery, Ezekiel Elliott, Cam Akers, James Conner, Antonio Gibson, Kyle Pitts, Patty Mahomes, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Jalen Waddle, a bunch of players on the board here, and my pick would be to go with James Conner. Again, I am a humongous James Conner believer, and I think after James Conner, the running back position gets very, very dicey. If you don't want to go James Conner, you want to go with Titty Boy T. Higgins, then go ahead, because I love T. Higgins in this round. I think T. Higgins is going to be a second round pick in a lot of drafts, so getting him inside of the third round would be a fantastic pick at pick 29, but my personal belief is to go with James Conner. And then after that, we get up to pick number 44, and there are still some running backs that are all right. We got guys like J.K. Dobbins, who, if is truly healthy, now he did get off the PUP, so he should be healthy, could really dominate in Baltimore. The question is, how much of a committee is this backfield going to be? How many looks out of the backfield is J.K. Dobbins going to get to potentially catch passes? I'm not sure. Breece Hall, like a decent amount. Travis Etienne as well. But again, we are back up on the board, and I'm just going to start hammering wide receivers at this point. So DJ Moore is the best wide receiver available in this range. So we have 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs through the first 4 rounds. That is, again, a strategy that I like to follow. I like having multiple running backs before I get out of the 4th round. But again, if the board doesn't go that way, if I don't like the running backs value, then I'm just not going to reach on those players, because I think there are great players that you can find later on in the draft. Then we'd be up again at pick 53. And again, at this point, you're just hammering in on wide receivers unless you believe there's a value at tight end or quarterback. Now, at this point in the draft, according to the ADPs on these websites, if you take a tight end in this range, you are basically a fucking fool, because the only tight ends available are like TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Dawson Knox, and they are certainly not worth your pick at pick number 53. So it's either wide receiver or quarterback here, and I would just go with the best wide receiver available, Courtland Sutton or Chris Godwin. If you are perfectly fine waiting a couple of weeks for production, then draft Chris Godwin, because when he comes back, he's going to be fantastic. Pick 68, 1 pick off of being very nice at pick 69. My favorite target in this range would be either Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, or Devin Singletary. It is a little early for Singletary. He does fall a little bit further in a majority of drafts, so I probably would just go with the wide receiver in this range. Pick 77, we got my favorite targets here would be guys like Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis, Rashad Penny, and Rashad Master Bateman. To scroll a little bit deeper on into the draft, some of my favorite targets deep down. I do like Ryan Tannehill. I talked about him in the last draft strategy video. Now, I assume some people are going to start to panic because they saw Malik Willis look pretty good in that preseason game, but I would be genuinely fucking stunned if the team played Malik Willis over Ryan Tannehill at any point this season, unless they have the bye locked up in week number 18, and go ahead, but I don't think that is going to be the case. Then deep in drafts, we still have Kenny Golladay, who's falling pretty far. He looked like absolute dog shit. He looks like he robbed the New York Football Giants of millions of dollars, but if he continues to fall to pick like 140 and 150, then I'm going to take him at that pick. Then we have some other guys deeper: George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, DJ Chark. I also really like Tyler Higbee, Alec Pierce. Tyrion Davis-Price was a guy, rookie running back for the San Francisco 49ers that I was in on a bit ago, but I've kind of jumped ship, and now I am all aboard the Trey Sermon train. Maybe we were just a year early on Trey Sermon, so now it is time to pivot into the mock draft. All right, so let's get on into the draft. So from the 5th overall spot here, I'm hoping we can get a solid wide receiver. There is a chance that 2 goes, but that is not the case here. We see Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, and Austin Eckler. So we are going to go with Cooper Kupp here again. Kind of a no-brainer pick, a shit ton of upside, and a very, very safe wide receiver. Again, I do not believe that Matthew Stafford's injury is going to hamper him at all. If that is the case, obviously Cooper Kupp could fall a decent amount, but based upon what Sean McVay said, I'm confident with Kupp. After Kupp, we see Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Ja'Marr Chase, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Swift, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Alvin Kamara, and Saquon Barkley. So in the first round, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers go. I would say in a lot of redraft leagues, when you're doing a legitimate draft, people are so hell-bent on drafting running backs because they know that if you don't draft at least one running back early, things start to get bad. So here we see, again, 5 receivers go in the first round. I think in some leagues you might only see 3 or 4 receivers go in the first round, that being Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Ja'Marr Chase, and then one of the other Diggs, Adams, Lamb, Hill, Deebo Samuel, maybe even depending on how people have them ranked. So we're back up on the board here. Again, it would be awesome to smash the start of the draft with Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel. But the issue with that is that, again, I want to go ahead and try to secure a running back in the first 3 rounds here that I legitimately like. And by the time things come back to me at the 305, the 3.5 pick, I am not 100% sure that I'm going to love the running back there. So I want to get a guy that I'm confident with, that I'm committed with, and that is Aaron Jones, running back of the Packers. Again, this is going eerily similar This isn't fucking English class, but eerily similar to what we were doing before, looking at the average draft position. So after Aaron Jones, we see Mark Andrews, Josh Allen, Javonte Williams, Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, and then A.J. Brown. So here we could double dip on the running backs here. Wide receivers, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen. Quarterbacks, not the best range. Tight ends, if Mark Andrews was still available, I think he's kind of a smash pick at the 305, but he's not. So we're either going wide receiver or running back. And again, I just feel confident with James Conner. Some people don't seem very confident in James Conner because James Conner is a running back who succeeded. A lot of the reason why he was so successful last season was because of the rushing touchdowns. And people think he won't score as many touchdowns. And that makes sense, right? It's not like he's going to score 7 zillion touchdowns. I believe he scored 18 touchdowns last year. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I think he can make up for the amount of touchdowns that he scored by just running the ball more, getting more targets, getting more receptions. And that will eventually just be able to push him up. Again, I don't think he's necessarily a top 5 running back in fantasy football, but could he finish inside the top 10? 100%. After James Conner comes Kyle Pitts, Patty Mahomes, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Travis Etienne, Justin Herbert, the pervert, David Montgomery, Cam Akers, Deontay Johnson, Antonio Gibson, Breece Hall, George Kittle, me Timbers, Terry McLaurin, Michael Pittman. Now, last night or 2 nights ago when you guys were watching this video, Breece Hall's quarterback, Mr. Zach Wilson, it looked like he tore his ACL. People were reporting that he tore his ACL, but it turns out that was just a bone bruise, and he's going to be fine 2 to 3 weeks from now, 3 to 4 weeks from now. It's looking like he could miss maybe a game or 2 of the season, but it's not serious. So that's good for Breece Hall and all the other players, but it's not like Zach Wilson is this crazy step up from Mike White or whoever they're going to end up playing at quarterback, but it certainly is promising for Jets fans, obviously. So we're back up on the board here. Going to go with wide receiver. And this is tough because normally in fantasy football, you just want to get the wide receiver 1 on the offense, but Jalen Waddle is the wide receiver 2. Looks like he is primed for an excellent season with Tyreek Hill. The defense is going to be so worried about Tyreek Hill that Jalen Waddle can flourish, but I am a big fan of DJ Moore this year. I really think with Baker Mayfield at the helm, this team is going to be significantly better. So I just feel confident in Baker. I mean, DJ Moore has had shit-tier quarterbacks his whole career. After Moore, we see J.K. Dobbins, DK Metcalf, Darren Waller, Mike Williams, Jalen Waddle, Courtland Sutton, Josh Jacobs, and Amari Cooper. So back up here, I would have loved to get Courtland Sutton. The running backs in this range are basically just as good as nothing, in my opinion. Like, I just don't want to be drafting this range of running backs, which is why we hammered in our running backs in the 2nd and the 3rd round. I like Dalton Schultz here, but not necessarily in the 5th round. If he fell to me in the 6th round, I'd be happy, but I don't think he will. So we're just going to go ahead and keep drafting wide receivers unless there is a glaring quarterback that I want to pick here. I like Lamar, I like Kyler, I like Hurts, and I think there's a chance that Hurts falls to me at the 608, so I'm fine waiting. Now again, is it a lock that Hurts will fall that far? No. So if you really like Hurts, you really like Lamar, you really like Kyler, then I think you can take them at the 505. But personally, I am willing to take that risk, take that gamble, and secure my number 3 wide receiver here. I love Allen Robinson this season, But we already have Cooper Kupp, so I don't think it's necessarily the greatest strategy to draft 2 wide receivers on the same team in a redraft league. In best ball, obviously, you want to be doing things like that, but in a redraft league, I just don't love doing that. So we're definitely not going to go Allen Robinson here. We could go Hollywood Brown. I'm kind of not out on Hollywood Brown. I just think that when DeAndre Hopkins returns, Hollywood Brown is going to fall back down to earth. So my pick here, we're going to go with Chris Godwin. Again, Chris Godwin's probably going to miss a bunch of weeks to start the season, potentially. But when he comes back, he has top 10 potential. So I'm fine taking that L early on in the season at my third receiver spot with Chris Godwin and just playing someone off the bench. And then when Chris Godwin comes back, it's very likely that I have one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver 3 on my roster. So after I go with Chris Godwin comes Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Mitchell, Kyler Short King Murray, then Allen Robinson, Lamar Jackson, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Hurts, Dalton Schultz, Miles Sanders, A.J. Dillon, Hollywood Brown, C.E.H. Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Joe Shiesty. So the quarterback that I wanted went, the tight end that I wanted went. So we're just going to keep hammering into the wide receiver position unless I see a glaring value at the running back position, because obviously you can't just draft 2 running backs. You need to draft like 4 running backs, 5 running backs. Again, based upon how this league is set up, you want to be drafting more wide receivers than running backs, but I still do view some of these running backs as very valuable, so I don't want to just miss out on them to keep hammering in on wide receivers. Here, Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, Darnell Mooney, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Drake London, all acceptable picks. Drake London did get banged up, a knee issue, but it wasn't an ACL based upon everything I've read. It seems that he's going to be fine. Just watching the game, it didn't look serious at all. But you never want to hear that a player gets hurt in preseason because, to me, I don't want to be chasing injuries necessarily. Now, Nick, you just drafted Chris Godwin. You know he's hurt, but I've known he's hurt for months, and I know what Chris Godwin will be when he returns. We've never seen Drake London play in the NFL, so chasing injuries isn't necessarily something you want to do, especially with players that you don't trust just yet. I love Drake London, but I don't trust what I've seen at the NFL level because I haven't seen anything. So here we are, back up on the board here. I'm going to go Adam Thielen. I think he's the safer pick here. You go Michael Thomas, Darnell Mooney. I love them as well. After Thielen, Kenneth Walker, TJ Hawkinson, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Drake London, Damian Harris, Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Corvette, and we're back up on the board here. I do like some of these running backs, but I think they'll be available. I think they could be available in the 8th round. I apologize. So we are just going to go ahead and go wide receiver and go with Gabe Davis, hunting for more upside. I like Rashad Master Bateman a lot. I think Bateman is the clear number 1 receiver in Baltimore, but the upside of Gabe Davis, the number 2 receiver in Buffalo, is just redonkulously high. So I'm going with Gabe Davis. We all saw that game up against the Chiefs where the guy basically took a shit on the chest of the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the Kansas City Chiefs still won the game. So after Gabe Davis, we see Rashad Bateman, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Moore, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. I think Elijah Moore is going to maybe fall further down draft boards now with this worry about Zach Wilson. Like, maybe he returns and he's not the same. Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, back-to-back Eagles players, DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Cordero Patterson, Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, Russell Wilson, Hunter Renfrow, Chase Edmonds, and Rashad Penny. So, while I am a big fan of Treylon Burks, that preseason game wasn't super promising for him. I'm not going to run away from him. I'm not fading him, but I am a little bit more nervous, and I think Robert Woods becomes even more of a value. What's Woods' ADP right now? I don't think he's been taking out. Yeah, pick 103. So, Woods is very, very interesting this season, but he is coming off an injury. I will admit that, but I think we all know how good of a player Woods can be. So at running back, I like Gordon. He's banged up. There's a lot of people talking heavily towards Javonte Williams, that this is going to be finally the season where Javonte Williams flourishes. I'm still not too sure about that. So as my running back 3, I'm going to go ahead and snag Melvin Gordon. We already have so many wide receivers that I think we're fine here to just pivot off and draft a running back or 2. After Melvin Gordon, Tyler Lockett in my pocket. Chris Olave, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Dawson Knox one time. If you are with me, Aaron Rodgers, Brandon Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, and Zach Ertz. So we still don't have a quarterback, still don't have a tight end, but I'm not panicking just yet. Not panicking, but I'm going to take a quarterback here because I love Trey Lance. That preseason game, chef's kiss, magnifique. I knew Trey Lance could most likely throw the ball pretty far. I knew Trey Lance, with the rushing upside alone, you should be drafting him. If you watched that game and you didn't instantly realize, if you were a hater of Trey Lance or you didn't like Trey Lance, if you didn't instantly realize that you were wrong, then you got to give your head a shake, because in reality, Trey Lance is in a very good position to potentially be a top 5 quarterback, maybe even the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football this season. I love Trey Lance, and I love that value in the 9th round. I think he's going to skyrocket up the draft as the weeks go on and we get closer to the NFL season kicking off on September 8th. I believe that makes sense. September 8th, Thursday Night Football, the Buffalo Bills versus the LA Rams. Trey Lance, followed by an LA Ram, Matthew Stafford, Allen Lazard, Ramondre Stevenson, James Cook, Pat Freiermuth, Robert Woods, Christian Kirk, Chase Claypool, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Russell Gage, Mike Licky, Mike Gesicki, Derek Carr, and Ronald Jones. So we're back up on the board here at the 10:08. We already got our quarterback, and when I'm confident in my quarterback that I've taken, I'm not looking to select 2 quarterbacks, right? I'm confident in Lance, so I see no need in drafting 2 quarterbacks. And again, my tight end won't be as good, so you might want to draft 2 tight ends, but I definitely want to be just putting myself in the position to have just 1 quarterback in 1 quarterback redraft leagues, because I think you could just pick someone off the waiver wire. Like, there's a chance that Tannehill doesn't get drafted, and I think Tannehill is a legitimate threat to be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy football. He used to be a receiver back at Texas A&M, so we're back up on the board. I think we kind of want to get another running back, and we're going to go with Dameon Pierce for the upside. This is an upside case. Dameon Pierce, rookie running back for the Houston Texans coming out of Florida. I think Dameon Pierce should be the number 1 running back on the team. Every single thing I've read out of training camp is so positive towards Dameon Pierce that I feel as though it's almost a mortal lock of the century that he will be the number 1 running back on the team by like week 3. And we already have Jones and Connor, so there's not really too much worry to have to go ahead and just attack Dameon, or to go ahead and need Dameon Pierce early on in the season for our roster. So I like Dameon Pierce. After Pierce, we see Michael Carter, James Robinson, Darrell Henderson, Isaiah Spiller, Kirk Cousins, Alexander Mattison, MVS, and then Tyler Algier, the 8th running back on the depth chart of the Atlanta Falcons. But if you read the fucking depth chart that comes out in August and you take anything away from that and you make if you're trying to make any fantasy football decision off of a fucking depth chart that comes out in August, early August especially, that is an unofficial depth chart that the fucking interns of the Falcons put out, you are crazy. You're crazy, because that depth chart doesn't mean anything, because he's the running back 8 on there. He could be the number 1 running back. He could surpass Cordell Patterson by the start of the season. I love Nyheim Hines, but we're kind of in a position where we already have enough running backs right now to where I'm just going to keep drafting wide receivers or draft a tight end because we still don't have one. So we are going to go tight end here, because in reality, I don't necessarily view any of these guys as a crazy step up from one another, but I don't want to not draft one and then come back in the 12th or the 13th round and then have just shit to pick from. So we're going to go with Cole Kmet. I don't love Cole Kmet, but I love the situation that he could be given in Chicago. The receiving core in Chicago is bad. It's terrible. And besides Darnell Mooney, they really don't have a clear number 2 target. They have Equanimeous St. Brown, who's getting some buzz, but I think Cole Kmet's going to be the number 2 guy in targets, so just getting that in the 11th round on a team is pretty valuable for me. Even if the Chi-Town Bears end up sucking donkey cock in terms of being a good NFL team, you can still get valuable fantasy assets from bad teams, especially because the bad team is going to be throwing the ball late in the game to tight ends and receivers, and running backs, I guess, too, yeah. So we're back up on the board here. After Cole Kmet, we see Tyler, Boyd, Christian Watson, Tua Tagovailoa, Nyheim Hines, Michael Gallup, Marlon Mack, Rashad White, Albert O, Hunter Henry, Jameson Williams, Kenny Galladay, Jarvis Landry, Kenny Gainwell, and Jahan Dotson. Before we got into our final 4 picks of this draft, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor that I'm pointing out right now, Underdog Fantasy, which is the single best place to play fantasy football this summer. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has $10 million in total prize pool, $2 million to first place. All you got to do is draft your team, and that's it. My favorite part about fantasy football, my favorite thing to talk about fantasy football is the draft. I love hanging out with my buddies, cracking open some drinks, and doing our draft. It is very, very fun. Now, you don't have to worry about on Underdog. You just do the draft. You do the most fun thing. You don't have to worry about the waivers sitting up on Tuesday night. You don't have to worry about calling up your buddy on the phone, trying to make a trade, and then them not wanting to do the trade. You're sitting there, they can't answer because they're too busy watching their kid. you don't have to worry about that. And you don't even have to worry about setting your lineup because Underdog will automatically put your highest scores in your lineup every single week. Last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted in June. So there is no need to wait. You can draft your team right now. No need to wait till late August, early September like you might want to in your redraft league. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up using promo code Stokastic on your screen right now, pointing at it, STOKASTIC, and you will receive, if you get that first match deposit bonus, our fantasy football and our best ball draft kit for 100% free. So please make sure that you guys do check that out. Again, promo code Stokastic. So we're back up on the board here. Make sure you leave a like on today's video as well. I think I probably edited the thing onto your screen that tells you to hit the like button like 7,000 times. So I hope you did that, and I hope if you're new, you hit that subscribe button as well. So we have our tight end again. Do I love Cole Kmet? No. But he's not in the range of tight end where I feel like I have to draft two. So I'm just going to ride with Cole Kmet. If he sucks, I'll just cut him. It is what it is. So let's keep on drafting here. Going to get some more wide receivers. Definitely going to get another running back as well. Just hunting for upside solely here. We're going to go ahead and go with DJ Chark. Baby Chark. So many positive reports out of camp. So many that this guy is looking like vintage DJ Chark. Like vintage DJ Chark was like 10 years ago, right? That's like three years ago at this point when DJ Chark looked really good in Jacksonville. But I'm excited about Chark in Detroit as the number 2 receiver, especially if Jameson Williams misses a lot of time all the way into November. After DJ Chark, we see Justin Fields, Irv Smith, Rondale Moore, George Pickens, J.D. McKissick, Deshaun Watson, and Trevor Lawrence, and then Julio Jones. So we're back up on the board here. The running backs aren't that great, but we do need another running back, but not yet. We'll just go receiver here with this pick. Go with Jalen Tolbert, rookie receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. If Gallup misses serious time, a couple of weeks, we could see Jalen Tolbert emerge as the number 2 receiver on the team while he's gone, and then maybe he steals Michael Gallup's job. Because while I think Michael Gallup's a good player, he's not that amazing to where he's like a lock to just retain his job back as the number 2 target in this Cowboys offense. A lot of buzz out of camp for Tolbert as well. After Jalen Tolbert, we see Khalil Herbert, Jacoby Myers, Devontae Parker, David Njoku, Matt Ryan, Raheem Mostert, McCole Hardman, Mark Ingram, Jameis Winston, Ida W, Noah Fant, Tyrion Davis-Price, Gus Bus Edwards, Alec Pierce, and Tyler Higbee. So we're going to get another running back here at least, and we're just going to reach down the board. It is what it is. He's still going to be available. Trey Sermon, running back of the San Francisco 49ers. This guy could legitimately be the number 1 running back a couple weeks in the season. We all know Kyle Shanahan is a crazy motherfucker like that. So we have 1, 2, 3. We got 5 running backs, so we're just going to go with another wide receiver to close this bish out. So we're going to go with the highest upside play available. And I think that is Romeo Doubs, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers, who is lighting it up in training camp, looked great in that preseason game. This could be a Marquez Callaway situation from last year where we hype up this player to the max. He ends up being like a 12th round, 8th round draft pick, and then he ends up not doing shit. But we shall see, obviously, in the season. So Romeo Doubs right now is like the last round pick. Is genius, but he's going to move obviously higher up than that. So to recap our team here, we went with Trey Lance, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, Cole Kmet, Adam Thielen, Gabe Davis, Melvin Gordon, Dameon Pierce, DJ Chark, Jalen Tolbert, Trey Sermon, and Romeo Doubs. Let me know down below in the comment section how you guys feel about this team, and let me know down below if you have any questions about this draft strategy. I love you guys all so much. I hope you guys do have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy!